Okay, so we're live, but you cannot see me. I see that. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Now we should be good. Yes, we're good. Okay, I got worried for just a second. Um, yeah, I'm not that good prepared today. There are lots of things happening right now. Exciting things that hopefully I can share with you in the near future. And yes, until then, for today, I am just planning on hanging out. Okay, today we were supposed to talk about starting with swimming, and we can do that if you guys want to. We can do that also. The idea was that once you master the streamline kick, which we talked about in last live stream, that after that you are basically able to go into swimming. In my opinion and from my experience, if you put a nose clip on, put a snorkel on, and a pull kick, and you get the athletes starting with catch-up freestyle, from my experience, everybody who I worked with one-on-one was able to do that. I had one lovely couple. If they're listening, I doubt they will. I'm not going to say names. I coached them in Frankfurt, and I'm never going to forget my first session. They said, "Jan, yeah, we want to start freestyle swimming," and I was like, "Yes, I can help you, no problem." And they showed up, and pretty quickly I realized they couldn't swim. Like they were not able of. If I pushed them in the pool, they would drown. And I said, in the politest way possible, I said, the issue here is that it's not about freestyle swimming right now, it's about survival. And I'm happy that I taught them also. That was actually fairly easy. I was way thrown off. I never taught anyone how to swim. I taught many people how to swim freestyle, but I never taught anyone how to actually swim. I was thinking, man, what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, we just got to trust. So I said, go like this and jump in and see what happens. You're going to float back up and you're going to go on your back and you're going to be fine. And this actually worked out quite well. And I mean, obviously I was there to help him if things would have gone bad. But yeah, that was a funny story. And other than that, those were the only two that did not swim on the very first day with freestyle. So that's what I really wanted to tell you. But while I was riding my bike home from training today, I thought about my live stream today. And what didn't make me happy is that I did not do any video takes on that. I really wanted to show you what this actually looks like and have one of my swimmers demonstrate it. And since I didn't get that ready, I apologize, and I'm going to do that again. So I think you need actual video footage and pictures to understand what I want from you. And since I didn't get that ready, we're just going to do live Q&A, and I'm going to be here to help you with anything that you have. Okay, until I wait for your questions, maybe a few general things for especially the beginners out there. I think the number one single biggest thing is that I want to start out with, and I want to do everything freestyle today. Okay. Normally I'm pretty good with that, but just so you know, there's no plan, no red line. I'm just going to go freestyle and tell you what's on my mind. But that being said, so for the beginners, if I would start over right now, or if I had somebody who's starting over, the first thing that I would do is I would actually tell him or her, make sure that you find the time to swim 3 times a week or 4 consistently. And I'm going to get to your question, Ali-Gun, in just a second. And that's the base. Because if you cannot make a commitment of training 3 to 4 times a week, your learning curve is going to be very, very low. And low learning curve, KPS 82, high. A small or a narrow learning curve, not narrow, what's that? What's the opposite of steep? Steil, flach. What is flach in English? Flat. Yeah, there we go. A flat learning curve. A flat learning curve is, let's think this through. This leads to slow progress. Slow progress leads to a lack of interest. A lack of interest leads to looking for something else, and that leads to obviously to quitting. And we don't want our beginning swimmers to quit. We want you to develop into intermediate swimmers and then into advanced swimmers. At least that's what I have in mind with all of you watching right here. I think everybody can be a decent swimmer within 12 months. If you do the right things, even if you start from scratch, I 100% believe that you can be a solid swimmer in 12 months. If you consistently put in 3 to 4 times a week, you are ready to swim open water 1.9K, probably 3.8K. Trust me on that. It is possible. Okay, but it's not possible if you train 4 times in week 1 time in week 2, 3 times in week 3, 0 times in week 4, 1 time in week 5. Very tough to make it like that. Okay, it's very important that very first thing that I would do with the athlete is make sure we set a realistic time. Okay, how many times do we train? Then I would start with what I showed you here. Do 1 or 2 or 3 personal sessions, streamline kicking, buy the right equipment, very important. We talked about that the last stream. Also a key factor in if you're having fun or not when you go to the pool. And then once you have the equipment, you get going. And I'm a great believer and a great fan of starting to swim freestyle very fast because it's fun. That's what you signed up for. You're thinking you're sitting at home, it's like, oh man, I would love to be able to swim freestyle. Imagine you come home and you swam freestyle. Yes, you had a snorkel on, I understand. And yes, you had a pull kick for a little bit of help with your flotation, but you were swimming freestyle. And what I usually do with these people that come to me, I videotape them. I was like, look at this. This is you. You're swimming freestyle. This is day 1. You look like a freestyle swimmer right now. Again, we're not breathing yet. We're breathing through the snorkel, but nevertheless, you're swimming freestyle. And usually that gets them pretty excited. They're like, yeah, this is so cool. And then you can go home and you cannot really mess up. There's not much you can do wrong when you have a snorkel and a pull kick. So the cool thing is, after that session, you can go home and train. And then you can start training right away. Then you're training with kickboard. You're basically training the things where nothing much can go wrong when you do it by yourself. Okay, and that's how I used to do this. I give you another popular example. Was a founder of a startup, which by now is very big. I can tell it was Westwing. Okay, the people that sell furniture and everything that you need for your living environment, basically. One of the 6 founders learned swimming with me. Great success story, amazing guy. Like I said, it's not my job to tell you the name, but was a young man and he made a commitment. In the beginning, we used to do one-on-one sessions. I want to say it was once per week. I think maybe even twice per week. But very quickly, he didn't need this anymore. In the end, we met like once a month. Okay, and the rest I wrote on training plans. And this young man went from coming and stepping foot into the pool at HVB Club in Munich to swimming the Red Bull Tree Island Triathlon, only 2.5 minutes slower than Sebastian Kienle. Okay, now think about this. He took his very first freestyle stroke 9 months before signing up for this triathlon. And 9 months later, he came out of the water. I think they swim around 2K, only 2.5 minutes behind Sebastian Kienle. Now I understand, yet again, he was a talented young man, all good. But still, from zero, literally was swimming like Tarzan with his head out of the water, to finishing the Red Bull Tree Island swimming part only 2.5 minutes behind the person that won, that was like back in 2017, that won the Ironman World Championships 3 years before that. Okay? Pretty cool. Pretty cool if you ask me. And I think that's possible. If you get the right information, you know what you have to do. Everybody, even the age doesn't matter that much. Of course, if you're 85, very cool that you're swimming. And I would do my best to help you and to build a course for you too. But obviously, it's not going to be as easy when you're 85 as when you're 35. But 35, 45, 55, you can still learn this pretty quickly. Okay? 65 also. Okay, so let's look at some comments. Did you do combat sports training today? No, unfortunately not. I'm very, very busy with some very, very, very cool things. In the very near future, I think I have something very cool for all of you that will change your swim training by a lot. It's gonna be very, very cool. And then Nadine says, yeah, that's true. I learned freestyle and within 1 month I was able to swim my first 500. See? Breathing to both sides. There you go. Possible. I listened to your interview on Swimcast podcast. I love your UF stories. Okay, perfect. You're welcome to share some stories here as well. I have so many stories from the University of Florida that I could literally talk about this for days. But I think what would be really, really cool actually is if we get somebody like Ryan or maybe even Coach Nesty or somebody on the live stream. Now, I know this is a big ask. These are both very successful and busy people. But I know them, and I would say I know them pretty well. And who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Nothing is impossible. Okay, maybe we can do that in the future. Actually, I think we can do that in the future. I'm pretty convinced we can do it in the future. But give it some time. Give it 1 or 2 years, because, like I said again, we have some pretty cool plans, and I'm actually really excited. And so, yeah, what was I saying? Okay, so now they're swimming freestyle basically. And then from there, the next big challenge, and this is a big challenge, is to remove the snorkel and start breathing. Usually what I do there is I remove the snorkel and I remove the pull kick and I give them fins. Because then they need the legs to support their breath a little bit, and that usually works well with fins. The timing, you have some people who are very, very gifted athletically, and you tell them something and they implement things immediately. They have a very good feeling for how their body is moving, and others take a little bit longer. That's the next big thing that I want to throw out there that can lead to massive frustration. It's so important and it's vital that you compare yourself with yourself and yourself only. Okay, just because Emma or Michael on the left and on the right are learning faster than you do does not mean anything. That should not discourage you from keeping going. You're on your own path and on your own journey. And that's the only thing that matters. Everything else leads to frustration. And I can tell you many stories of myself where, especially if you're very competitive, it doesn't do you any good. You should only compare yourself with yourself. Of course, we all want to win. But think about it, if you only compare yourself with yourself and you try to get the best out of yourself every day in every session, winning comes by itself. Winning doesn't come by itself if you compare yourself left and right and you get negative emotions and you think, oh my God, life is so unfair, they're improving faster than me, I'm falling behind, maybe swimming is not for me, man, my training sucks, my coach sucks, maybe I need to switch teams. And you can see how fast it spirals out of control. And I see this every day, trust me. Every single day as a coach, I see these things, and I'm pretty good at reading my athletes. they may not think so, but I think I understand pretty exactly. But I understand pretty well what goes on in their head. I think I'm very close to that. Okay, another question: what to do if there's just a 45-minute window for a session? Short warm-up, warm-down, or any go-to sessions, or the pool is crowded or so. Okay, these are many different things. If the pool was crowded, what I personally would not do is swimming straight. Because I was one of those guys who gets frustrated very quickly if I get interrupted on every length and I want to go straight and I look for my time, and that gets very frustrating very quickly. What I would do is I would certainly plan my training in short intervals. Ideally 25s if it's a 25-meter pool, or 50s if it's a 50-meter pool, because that gives you a little bit of an opportunity to plan. You know, if there's, for example, like 5 people coming bunched up very close together and you time it right, then maybe you have the full length almost traffic free and you can go pretty fast. So I would go with the intention of doing some sort of a high intensity interval training. I think that's the only method that really makes sense. And that's the only method that really, is going to be fun. And I think that's also a method that's very useful if you don't have much time on your hand. If you have 45 minutes and you, let's say you go 25, one length fast, one length easy for 45 minutes, you have a pretty good workout. Okay, I understand this is not classical distance training, but what else are you going to do? If you have 45 minutes and you have 12 people on your lane, what are you going to do? So like you said, do a short warm-up and do high-intensity interval training. I think that's the best approach you can do. Okay, so back to the story, but again, I will I will put this together in a keynote for you guys so that you can follow along a little bit more clearly. But then once you remove the snorkel, add the fins, you implement that, you ramp up the volume maybe from 800 meters to 1K. Then by now probably we're in week 4, week 5 when we're starting to implement the breathing. And you can probably train 1.2K, 1.3K, and then from there you're just scaling up. We try to get to 2K. I would estimate that takes you probably 8 weeks if you do it smart. And then once you're at 2K, so 8 weeks in, you're probably developing a feel for your technique. You're probably pretty solid with your body position and with your head position. You may struggle a little bit still with shortness of breath. That's a classic question that's always coming up from the beginners. You're going to be out of breath because swimming is an environment that is not natural for you. Not like when you run, you can breathe whenever you like. Obviously, we're not fish. You can only breathe whenever your face is out of the water, and that takes some time to get used to. So this will be the stage where you will get a feeling for the freestyle technique. You learned pretty well, but then you're going to struggle with, I'm always out of breath. And then you're going to struggle with, you're starting to work with a clock for the first time. You're starting to get a feeling for how fast am I when I swim. And like I said, this is probably on week 8. And then from there, you scale it up to 2.5, 3K, 3.5K. And once you get to 3.5K per session, that took the young man in Munich probably 6 months, maybe a little bit less, 5 months or so. Once you hit that volume, you are already pretty good. I would say lots of the people that do the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii as an age grouper, not as a pro, I would estimate that the average swim session from the people that race there is around 3.5 to 4.5K. It's my guess. So if you do this volume right, you can take this very far, especially if you do 4 sessions a week. So I would argue that if you do a good job with a clever training plan, you can actually be very competitive as an age grouper with 3.5K per practice. Which then leads to the questions, do we need to do that much more? I don't know. I think the answer is yes, if you are in your 20s or in your early 30s and you're thinking about maybe trying some pro races or you're trying to win your age group on Hawaii, I think then the answer can be yes, and you can scale it up even more. But I think the longest swim sessions that I wrote for Sebi Kienle back in the day when I was a swim coach, they were like 6K. Maybe 6.5, but never more than that. And he used to train 6 to 7 times a week. So he used to do one day with morning practice and evening practice, and for the most part, the other times, 1 a day and Sunday off. Okay. And like I said, you cannot go from 0 to 6K in 1 year. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but you can certainly get from 0 to 3.5K within a year. And the cool thing is, very soon we're going to offer that for all of you, and it's going to be really, really good. Okay, another question. Wie war das mit meiner Theorie, jede Woche circa 100 Meter mehr im Training einzubauen? Okay, so the question is translated into English. My theory apparently was that I said you can do 100 meters extra per session. I don't know if I ever said that. Doesn't sound like my language. I think there was a 1 and a 0 in there. And I think what I said is that you can roughly scale about 10% per week. That's ambitious though. That's a fast way to scale up. But I think, let's say you do 2K in week 8. You can do 2.2K in week 9. You can do 2.4K in week 10. You can do 2.6K in week 11. Usually when I do this, because it is ramping up quite quickly, every 4th week I step it down 1 time and then I start stepping up. So it looks like step, step down, step to a higher level, step down, step to a higher level, step down. But I always usually every 4th week in my training plans, I give the people a little bit of a breather so they stay healthy and we don't go too crazy. But I think adding 10% per week is something that you can strive for. combat sports training. Yeah, I miss my combat sports training. I did one in Heidelberg the week before when I was doing my coaching license. Boy, did I get beat up. Man, and I looked in the mirror when I came home. Rough. But yeah, what can I say? It was tough. I mean, it was classic. I'm very proud that I went, but I was standing the 3 days prior. I was in the pool on a competition from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. Exhausted when I came home, and then the next morning at 9 o'clock I was already on the way. Sorry, at 8:30 I was already on the way back to the train station again, going to another city, doing all of that stuff. And then at night I went to training and I got absolutely smashed, destroyed. But sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail. It's very important that you learn how to be the nail also, especially if you're like this guy. I'm a heavy guy. I'm 100 plus kilos. In jiu-jitsu, when I have a gi on, I'm around 105. So I'm the hammer a lot, and it's very important that you learn to defend yourself also as a big guy. Okay? Anyways, this is not the jiu-jitsu channel, thank God, because I'm not an expert in jiu-jitsu by any means. I just like the sport, but in swimming I can help you. Okay, Tom G, when was the last time you practiced swimming? Well, it depends on how you define practiced. I think the last time I really practiced with a structured training was in 2012, when I really knew how many sessions I had in a week and I made a commitment that this is how much I train. I was still a pro back then. Other than that, I have some random swims with people like Daniel Unger is here, former world champion in triathlon. We have like an old man swim group where we hop in and we do like 2.5K. I can do this still. If you give me a wetsuit, I'm still pretty fast also. But a really structured training plan and still going fast just with a normal suit, I'm far away from that. But I don't know. Sometimes I get an itch. And I want to swim a little bit. But I don't think I see myself doing distance freestyle anymore. I would probably, I talked about this to a buddy of mine, that I may want to swim the 200 IM Masters, because I think that would probably be my best race. Okay, another question. Would you suggest swimming 3 to 4K 4 to 5 times per week or plus 5K 3 times per week? That's a very good question. I would prefer 3 to 4K 4 to 5 times a week, and then maybe adding, out of those 4 to 5 times per week, I would do one with less and one with more. So let's say do 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 2.5, 5. That would be my dream scenario as a coach. I think then you cover all the bases the best. You have your long session in there, which gives you that extra, the German word is Reiz, the extra Trainingsreiz, the extra, I don't know how to translate that. The extra training effect, it stresses your system, so you get more of an effect out of that. And the other times when you do a little bit lower volume, you make sure that your quality is going to stay higher, which is a good thing because you want to develop speed at the end of the day. Stimulus, great, thank you. Yeah, so you give it a better stimulus with that 5K, and then you balance that out with a 2.5K easy in the middle. I'm a great fan of, if you go easy, to also shorten the volume a little bit. Back in the day, that was the one thing I did not like in my time in Würzburg. And I say that all the time. I'm going to say it again. The time when I was in Würzburg, I think that my coach was one of the very best coaches in the world. With Stefan Lurz, he was amazing. Okay, but one thing that I did not like is that when we did go easy, and we went easy, usually after we did weights, he kept the volume the same. So if we did 80K in a week, every session was 8K. Maybe one was 7.5 and one was 8.5. And I never really understood. I would have much rather had 9 and then the easy one just 6, where I get out, relax, really recover, and come back to training. That being said, he was a much more successful coach than I ever was. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not going to go into more detail. Okay, I do it different with my athletes these days, and I would think that would have helped me as an athlete also, but he was a great coach. How tall are you when you have more than 100 kilos? I'm around 189. Actually, I'm exactly 189. And when I stand in front of you, you're not going to guess that I'm 100 kilos. I look much lighter than I actually am. I don't know why I'm heavy. If it's my bones, my muscle, I don't know what it is. But I don't look like 100 kilos, but I have 100 kilos. Unless every scale I ever stepped on is wrong. It's highly unlikely. Was kannst du aus der kalten Hose auf 400 Meter auf der Langbahn? That is a very, very disrespectful question. Okay, if I were to go on the block right now, and the life of my kids would depend on my effort, I would leave it everything that I have. I think people highly, highly overestimate how fast I could still go. If I have just a regular training suit, short, like a Speedo suit, I can promise you that I'm going to struggle. I think breaking 5 minutes is almost impossible, because I literally, the last time I swam 2.5K was like 6 months ago or so. And I do zero endurance training other than occasionally riding my bike over that hill and back to training, which is about 1 hour in the saddle. So I would say 505. Something between 455 and 505. 510. I think that I can go. Now, things change a lot if you give me a wetsuit. If I were allowed to wear a wetsuit, I think I would be significantly faster. I would estimate like 445, something like that, 450. And a jammer, something in between. But not good, not good. I think I would do a much better job if you let me do 200 IM. I would be much, 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 much better. Aligun says I had a lot of muscle. Yes, I have a lot of fat also. I carry around quite a bit of fat at the moment. But yeah, for a distance guy, I was always pretty muscular. In my total prime as a swimmer, I had 84 kilos. So 189 and 84. And back then I had 5% body fat. Okay. Cool questions. This is fun. We're having a real conversation here. How many people are here? 16. We're doing good. We're doing good today. But yeah, the cool thing is in my condition that I'm in right now, I can actually relate to a lot of things that you guys are asking. And back in the day, coming straight out of retirement and swimming, some of the stuff that you guys were talking about seemed so alien for me. Like, for example, I cannot swim 100 easy. It's always hard. I start to be able to relate to this. And it also makes it, I can tell now how hard it is to do 100 pull without resting, or 200 pull, which I understood now that it's so important for beginners to really start with small intervals, because your muscles are just not ready they have never been trained. And this kind of feels the same if you have not trained for 10 years or so in swimming. And yeah, I think it all around this helps to be in your shoes right now. Are you learning something new at your coaching license? Yes, for sure. The last time, what I really liked was the weightlifting. We did some cleans, some snatches, and that kind of stuff. I've never learned that before. That was really cool. Other than that, I really liked the nutritional part. I thought was much better from her name is Claudia Osterkamp-Behrens. She did it back in the day already with my swim team in Munich. And back then I thought it was quite lame, to be honest. I'm sorry, Claudia, if you're watching. But I now understand that back in the day, I think she was driving her knowledge vehicle in the first gear for the little kids to understand. And then it all makes sense, because now she went significantly more into detail and actually helped me quite a lot. So it was really, really good. And other than that, as far as swim training goes, swim planning goes, not so much. But I think I was very fortunate to have already trained as a swimmer under some of the best coaches in the world. And I think I understand middle distance swimming, distance swimming, IM swimming. I think I understand that to a very, very high level already. So if anything, it gave me a little bit of confirmation when some of the coaches showed what they were. Johannes, yeah, thank you. Good. Anja is swimming, that's always good. And yeah, so I don't know. By the chance that this might sound cocky, not so much about swimming, but like I like the weightlifting, and psychology was a little bit interesting. But overall, I think what I can say about this license, the A license from the German Swimming Federation, if you ever plan to do this, the price they're asking is €1,000, and they are way over delivering for €1,000. It's not even close. The stuff that the stuff that they're presenting and the stuff that you're learning there, the people that talk there and the amount of time you spend there is worth way more than €1,000. So with that, I can say they do an amazing job. I mean, very, very good. Okay, so any open water tips, tricks, maybe top 3. Okay, perfect. My top 3 in the open water tips. Number 1, if you breathe to the right, position yourself to the left. And if you breathe to the left, position yourself to the right, relative to the field. Very big one. Will help you tons in orientation. Number 2, do not lift your head all the time. It's absolutely okay to do 10, 15, 20 strokes without looking where you go. You're not going to all of a sudden change direction that you go completely opposite direction. Not going to happen. You may get a little bit off track, but that little bit off track is going to be costing you less time than doing one forward and one up all the time, because that significantly impacts your body position to the worse. Okay, so do not orient yourself all the time. And the third one would be well, the third one would be, this is probably super simple and everybody does it, but I'm going to say it nevertheless. Make sure you warm up the day before at the actual race venue. Make sure you know what the water is like. Open water is vastly different from one competition to the next. Sometimes you have crystal clear water, sometimes you have very murky water, sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold. That being said, the conditions are not going to change drastically from one day to the next, but you have to make sure you get in there and you know what you're dealing with on race day. Okay, while you're there and warming up on the race course, you should also look for land sites for orientation. Okay, and that's my top 3. Nadine says, did you have injuries? I think it's quite tough to go from 0 to 3.5K within 1 year. Many people who level up too fast get injured in many sports. I did have injuries. Nothing that required surgery. I guess my hand would have required surgery. This right here. I broke my hand. Funny story. You wanted stories from Florida. That's a good one. I'm going to get back to your question, don't worry. I was goofing around on the trampoline with none other than yours truly, Ryan Lochte, and we were trying to bounce each other as high as humanly possible. As the chances wanted, we landed at the same time. I flew with my hand into his knee and my finger literally pointed this way. And I took it, I was like, put it back in. And he said, let's go. This was so much fun. I was like, I think I broke my hand. It's like, no, you're going to be fine. Your hand is okay. It's like, no, I really broke my hand. My finger was still a little bit off to the side. And he's like, all right, fine, we stop. And then the next morning, my hand was twice the size, literally deep purple. And I'm never going to forget it. I said, Coach Troy, I think I hurt my hand. And he said, cool. Did you see the doctor? I said, no, it happened last night. We have early morning practice. And he said, ice cold, did not flinch. He's like, your problem, cannot be that bad, go swim. I swam 10K long course with a broken hand. And I never missed a single session afterwards because I only found out that it was broken 5 weeks later. Until then, I swam with my fingers taped and with painkillers. And hey, worked out. But anyways, that was a good story from Florida. So my injury was a pretty bad shoulder infection where I had to kick for 8 weeks. And that season was 2006. And that was the biggest improvement that I ever made. So that goes to show that injuries are not necessarily always a bad thing. My kick improved a lot, and yeah, everything was the best, the biggest jump I've ever made. Other than that, it's quite tough to go from 0 to 3.5K. I think it's possible. If we just do the math, I think we all agree that within 4 weeks we can cover 1.2K, right? I mean, you can basically probably do 1.2K in the first session. If you then go from 1.2 to, let me open up an Excel here. Don't say anything wrong. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm gonna pull this over here. So we're gonna go here. Week 1. Is this gonna work out? Yes. Make this a little bit bigger. And we start at 800 for your first one-on-one session. Then we go to, in the beginning, 900. 1,000. And we go to, just for the sake, just 1,100. Keep it at 10%. Then we go to 1,300. Then we go to 1,500. Then we go to 1,700. Then we said we're going to take one easy by now. We're going to go back to 1,500. Then we go 1.7, 1.9, 2.1, go back down to 1.9. Then we go 2.1, 2.3, 2.5, 2.3. Then we go 2.5, 2.7, 2.9. Then we go back to 2.7 for the easy one. 2.9, 3,100, 3,300, 3,500, and this took us 24 weeks. That's 6 months, half a year. I think it's absolutely reasonable. I think you can do it. Of course, what you have to do is you have to listen to your body. If your shoulder starts hurting, you need to seek help immediately. Obviously, you need to go to a physiotherapist. You need to ice your shoulder. You need to take Advil if necessary. But it's absolutely reasonable to get to that volume within that time frame. Okay, where was I? But yes, I mean, do it clever, Nadine. Obviously, if you can tell that something's hurting, you need to adjust. Okay, but I think in a normal world, it's possible. Okay, next question. Do you have any clinics coming up? Yes, we have the big one in Saarbrücken. It's a 3-day clinic. It goes from the 10th of May till 12th of May. This one's going to be very cool with staying overnight and all that. If you're interested, write me on Instagram. It's going to be a very good one. Other than that, not yet. Expectations or hope for Paris 2024? For my team, I think we have 2 people who can make it. I have one guy from Iran who has a pretty good shot at making it. And I have a German guy who has a very, 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 very small chance. But he's more like a junior swimmer. So we will see. As far as the German hopes go, I think in open water we are very competitive, even though the races are probably going to be cold, and that's not necessarily favoring our people, but I think we're going to be good nonetheless. In the pool, I think we have, I don't know. I think if everything goes well, we have some opportunities to actually get medals with people like Lukas Mazerat. If everything goes perfect, he may have a chance to take a medal in the 100 breaststroke. We have Angelina Köhler, who may, I mean, she won the Worlds. I understand not all the best people were not necessarily there, but the time she posted nevertheless was very good. So I think if she improves a little bit more, especially the way she swam her race, I really like that. Coming home very strong. I think you never know. Could be possible. And then we have in the pool, of course, I don't know. I think our distance swimmers in the pool are amazing as far as the time goes, but I think we're a little bit limited strategically because I think if you want to win a medal, you need to be able to swim. These guys are so crazy, like 25.5 to 26.0 in the last 50. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I think Lukas Mertens should have the speed theoretically. But I don't know. Tough overall. So I think in the pool it's going to be tough. I think a lot of things need to align. Anna Elend, you never know how she's going to do in the breaststroke. She's technically capable of doing a medal. And I probably forget some people now. So I mean, yeah, Lukas Mertens, of course. I think he's probably our biggest hope for a medal. Isabel Gose is also somebody who can make a medal in the 800 maybe 1500. And I don't know. I think they need to swim well. But I mean, they're training really well. I know they do a lot of very good work in Magdeburg, and we will see. We'll see. Fingers crossed for sure. I hope they make a medal. Patty again, how much % of the total volume should we swim with floating fins? I don't have these numbers in my head, but I would estimate probably 30% fins. Whenever I look through my training plans, I'm actually shocked how much fins is in there. But yeah, I think fins are important. My training plans are fairly polarizing. You know, we do a lot of equipment, and the easy parts are generally swum at a fairly low intensity. But when we take the equipment off, generally fireworks tend to go off. We generally go pretty hard. And then Nadine says, I mean, tough for the body is because the body, the muscles, the bones need to get used to the practice and the new impact. Well, we don't have any impact when we swim. You know, I think you need to be very careful when you cannot compare swimming and running. It's completely different. We don't have the same impact on our joints at all. That being said, there is stress on your shoulder joints when you swim, but it's not the same as hitting the floor, like the ground with your body weight all the time. You know, it's more of a repetitive kind of motion, and pain in your shoulder usually results in either being very imbalanced as far as your muscles go. For example, you have huge chest muscles and very small back muscles, which tends to pull your shoulders forward, more prone to shoulder pain. Basically any disbalance or a technical flaw. If you have a very, very bad technical pull, also more prone to shoulder injuries. But running and swimming completely different. With running, I agree with you 100% that if you ramp up your volume too quickly, you're almost guaranteed to get injured. But in swimming, it's not the same. And I can do the math pretty well because I'm a mathematician. Okay, then you're better in math than me. I just wanted to work it out for myself real quick to see how long this would actually take. You're certainly better in math than I am then. Okay, another question. What percentage would be a breaststroker? Would a breaststroker actually breaststroke in... I see this heart right in front of there. I cannot... In a non-pre-competition phase. I can tell you what my breaststrokers do. They don't do that much breaststroke. Same logic here. I think for a breaststroker and for a butterfly, it's even more true. I think if you do breaststroke and butterfly, you have to make sure that your technique is on point. And that is especially tricky with those two strokes, because if you go slow, it's very, very hard to do that with a good technique. Because the key to swimming butterfly and breaststroke, they go hand in hand, they're very closely related, is that the hips ideally always stay on the surface. And if you swim these strokes a little bit, you know how incredibly hard this is at low pace. And therefore, I'm a fan of having them do IM sets, having them also do freestyle or backstroke, depending on what they prefer. And then again, make the main sets count. So when they swim breaststroke and when they swim fly, swim it on a high intensity. But to answer your question, as far as percentage goes, not much. Something between 10 and 15%, I would say. At least for me. I know Hungarians did some crazy stuff. I heard of stories that some people did 20 times 400 breaststroke. I don't know. The person who did that, then, I mean, always, I've never seen it. These are just stories. And take that with a grain of salt, because you never know if it actually happened, if it's just a story. But those were apparently some of the sets that Daniel Girta used to do. And he is an Olympic champion. He was one of the greatest breaststrokers of all time. But I would doubt that a lot of people are still willing to do that kind of work today. And also need to question if it's the right approach to begin with. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, how long are we talking? This is going really well. I like this a lot. I love all the questions that you're asking, but we're talking 45 minutes. I think we need to wrap it up soon. And then maybe in the next one, I have an announcement for you already, which is going to be pretty exciting. Good. Then, yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap up. I want to thank you all for your questions. I think those were really, really good. And yeah, if you have not done so, make sure to sign up for a free week of training, especially for the Freestyle 101 course on www.sumazinguniversity.com. Check that out. And if you're interested in the freestyle clinic in Saarbrücken in May, write me on Instagram. And yeah, that's basically it. Last question: how to get more volume into your sessions? Scale. Very simple, right? Step it up. Okay, we talked about it for quite a while, for quite a bit. Try to add about 10% per week. And yeah, try to keep the ratios of pulling, kicking, and all of that roughly the same. Okay, just scale everything up, and then you will get there automatically. You did write me for the swim cap. Yes, you did. I know. I'm gonna send those out. I didn't get to that yet. It's been seriously crazy. But I will send it out to you. Okay, so all the best. Tips for pacing the 1500. Okay, this is the last one. Ladies and gentlemen, no more questions. Tips for pacing the 1500. Okay, so number one, I think you need to take a really honest look in the mirror and examine or tell yourself how fit you are. The fitter you are, the better prepared you are, the more you can handle starting out very fast. If you are not trained well and you start out the first 500 too fast, you are in a world of pain. And I've been there many, many times. A 1500 is a very tricky distance. Ideally, I would tell everybody who's starting out with that to try to descend the 500s. So go from moderate to moderate to medium to mad. Okay, start out, even if the first 500 is a little bit too easy, it's probably better than the other way around. And trust me, I keep telling this, even some of my very best swimmers, of my elite swimmers here in Saarbrücken, to descend the 500s. None of them have been capable of doing this yet. They always go out too fast and they go down in flames every single time. And that's already by me telling them that. So if you want to avoid serious pain, make sure to descend your 500s. And I think that's a good one. Okay. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for taking your time and spending it with me. I wish you all the best, and I will talk to you on Thursday. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye.